The gods and goddesses. The practitioner of Teutonic spiritual traditions and magic has access to a great wealth of divine magical archetypes. These gods and goddesses can be approached by the magician in many ways. First, through absorbing the lore and myths of the Teutonic folk. Then, through vision quests, magical invocations, and evocations. From a magical point of view, the chief god and goddess on the Teutonic paths are Odin, known as Odin in Old Norse, and Freya, or Freyja, and both are powerful magical archetypes, to be explored by both male and female magicians on the Teutonic paths. These are the models of consciousness that most magicians will seek to emulate in their personal magical developments. There is a whole pantheon of magical archetypes with whom the Viking can deal. The higher divinities are divided into two kinds, the Aesir and the Vanir. The Aesir are the gods and goddesses of social order and consciousness, while the Vanir are the divinities of nature and well-being. The magical divinities Woden and Freya cross over these boundaries at will. Woden may be considered the chief god of the Vikings. He is the god of the rune masters, who attempt to emulate his archetypal pattern in their lives. Woden is a god who sacrifices himself to himself in an act of magical initiation in order to gain the runes, the knowledge of self and cosmos, and the power to act within these realms to effect changes at will. Among the Aesir, besides Woden, the god of magic, poetry, ecstasy, and divine synthesis of consciousness, there is Tyr or Tyr, the god of justice and rational thought, and Thunar or Thor, the god of steadfast loyalty and troth, staunch defender of the gods and humanity. Frigga is also an important goddess among the Aesir, who influence the maintaining of social order within domestic existence. Among the Vanir, besides Freya, the goddess of magic and eroticism, there is Freya's twin brother, Frey. The names Frey and Freya literally mean the Lord and the Lady. The form of religion and magic practiced under their auspices in ancient Anglo-Saxon England was first called by the Old English or Anglo-Saxon word Wicca, pronounced Wicca. Another important Vannic god is Njorth, the father of Freya and Frey, who is the lord of material well-being and plenty. Actually, there are many more gods and goddesses to be explored by the worker of Teutonic magic, but these are the key deities who can open the way to divine realms. The chief way in which the elder path of the troth is practiced and the gods and goddesses are honored is through the ritual observation of a sacred cycle of the year. Someone can be said to be true, that is, loyal to the elder troth, if he or she simply observes these times of the year. Things can get much more complicated, of course, but this is the simple essence of the folk way. Winter night, around October 15th, is the Norse New Year, which comes at the close of old harvesting time. The forces of nature are finished expending themselves. This is the beginning of the most important religious phase of the year, the time of midwinter. Yule, from about December 20th to December 31st, is a whole period of time, the old Yuletide, also remembered as the 12 days of Christmas. In this time, the whole of the year is magically contained, and out of it the year is regenerated. The Yuletide begins on Mother Night and ends on Yule itself, 12 nights from the Mother Night. Disting, around February 14th, heralds the beginning of the return of the vital forces that had turned inward at the time of winter night, and it is the time when many local assemblies are held. Easter, the Vernal Equinox, is the full manifestation of the return of the vital powers of nature. The name of this celebration was always Teutonic. Eostra, the goddess of the spring and of the dawn. It is simply a name that the Christians could not obliterate. Walburga, May Day, the nights of April 30th and May 1st, is a twofold affair. The night of April 30th is traditionally the Witches' Night. In Central Europe, it is a time when the mysterious night side of life is strongly manifest. On the other hand, May Day is quite the opposite. being a bright and sunlit celebration of the day side of life, of play and of work. Maypoles may be erected on this day or Midsummer Day, or both. Midsummer. North solstice is the celebration of the final victory of the sun in the cycle of the year and of the full manifestation of the vital forces of nature which were given birth during the Yuletide. Thingtide, around August 23rd, is the time of the great regional or national gatherings where the social aspects of the troth are given expression. This is the time when legislative and business matters of all kinds are attended to, and when there is a great celebration of the social and organizational aspects of the troth. Harvest, winter finding, autumnal equinox begins the autumnal equinox begins the culmination of the natural cycle of things that comes into being and passes away toward new beginnings. The end of this period is celebrated on the winter night, bringing the cycle to a close. It would be a mistake to see this cycle as one simply having to do with the cycles of nature. In the narrower sense of the word, in fact, the mysteries of anything cyclical are contained in this pattern. The rituals. The main kind of ritual, usually performed during any of these festivals, is the blessing. This is a word derived from the Old English blestian, which means to perform a sacrifice, or more literally, to besprinkle with blood. Only later it was Christianized like so much else in the religious terminology of the ancient troth. The Old Norse term for this is blot, and it is often used to refer to this kind of rite as well. The equipment basic to the practice of troth blessings, or blot, consists of an altar, harrow, which can be of stone or wood, a drinking vessel, preferably a drinking horn, a bowl, and a sprig of evergreen. The rites are usually performed outdoors. The basic blessing formula, which can be adapted to any sacred purpose and can be done to honor or worship any god or goddess, is as follows. Number 1, the Hallowing, which sets the ritual time-space apart from the ordinary. This is done most simply by tracing the sign of the hammer in the 4 cardinal points. Number 2, reading, which places the rite in a mythic context. The mythic poems or epics are read or recited. Number 3, read, which links the mythic pattern to the purpose of the ritual at hand. This is a simple or elaborate statement of the main purpose of the rite. Number 4, the call, which invokes the deities or classes of beings to be honored in this rite. Number 5, the loading, which charges the sacred drink with godly power. This is done by pouring the drink, mead, honey wine, ale, beer, or fruit juices, into your drinking vessel or horn, and visualizing the collected powers entering the liquid. Drinking, number 6, drinking, which is the consuming of the charged liquid and internal circulation of its power. This is done by drinking from the horn by all present. The horn is never drained, something is always left, which is poured into the blessing bowl on the altar. Number 7, the blessing, which is the sprinkling of the altar with the sacred liquid. This is done from the sacrificial bowl with a sprig of evergreen by dipping it in the liquid and sprinkling it around the altar. Number 8, the giving, which is the returning of the rightful part of the gathered power back to the divinity and or to nature. This is done by pouring the contents of the blessing bowl that are left onto the bare earth. Number 9, the leaving, which is the declaration of the end of the work and of the return to the everyday space-time, back to the normal. This kind of rite can be performed at all of the important times of year in honor of all the gods and goddesses. For a complete system of the religion of the Troth, see Edred Thorsson's A Book of the Troth, and Edward Sitch's The Rites of Odin. The next chapter is long, it's on the runes, so that one we will save for another recording, and it will be posted soon.